I'm Heather from Hyde booktubes, and today's foodie romance recommendations. I actually am not a huge fan of foodie romances. One, I don't like food with sex. I just don't. It grosses me out. Secondly, there is no synopsis or setup that will make me less interested than a baking competition. I don't care. I don't care about food romances. However, these are some that I've read that have a emphasis on food that I really enjoyed. And if you actually do love the foodie, sweet baking, I don't know what, restaurant romances, these are some good ones. You should check them out. As always, if it is available on Kindle Unlimited, it is marked in my description. And if you want romance recommendations based on trope or subgenre or mood, subscribe. All right, my very first one is Hide and Seek, which is Hyde #1 by Layla Frost. This is a rock and roll sweet baker, and her name is Piper, and she falls in love with Jake, who is a workaholic custom garage owner, and through events is going to end up offering her space for a bakery. And she has an interesting background, and he's very alpha, but she can definitely hold her own, and it's so sweet, and I loved it. There's a little bit of suspense. I fell in love with this author when I read this book and really loved it. Loved it. He rides a motorcycle. It's so good. It's so good. It's all the things, and you really fall for all the characters in the book. I have the Hookup, which is Mother Oil and Moonlight #1 by Kristen. This is not necessarily a food-themed romance. This is literally based on a one-night stand. She's never had a one-night stand before. She's new to town. She just moved in, and she has a one-night stand with the one man that nobody ever thought would have another relationship. Like, he had found his one. They were in love. She left. That was gonna be it. Until it's not, and she thinks it's a one-night stand. He wants more, then he's like, no, I can't do more, and then changes his mind and is all in and convinces her and makes her life so much better. And I just love them together. They were what each other needed. It's Johnny and Izzy, and I love them so much. But if you read this book, you will become so hungry for guacamole. It's not even funny. And crock pot chicken enchiladas. And there's so many good like food dishes talked about in here that just makes you so hungry, and that's why it is. Because I haven't read this book since December of last year. I reread it in December, and like I can still remember what dishes they're talking about in the book. I'm telling you, the food sounds so amazing. Next I have 8 by Rilzy Adams. This is a short story. This one does have food and sex, and quite frankly, I'd say unsanitary food and sex, but it is a short story about a private chef who comes to do a dinner, and her friend couldn't come, so it's just her, and they have sexy times along with food, and that's kind of the whole thing. Next, I Love Her Loser, which is Hot and Hammered #2 by Tessa. This one is a phenomenal romance if you are in a long-term relationship. It is a marriage that is really on the rocks because they don't speak each other's love languages, and they haven't done a great job of communication. And it talks about love languages a lot, and there's a hippie therapist, and it's delightful. But a big part of this, and a big part of their issues, is that Rosie wants to open her own restaurant, always has, and wants to maintain the legacy of her mom. So the restaurant's very important to her, and that's a big focus of the book, and the food sounds amazing. And this does follow up, Fix Her Up, but you could read it as a standalone. Next I have Peace, Love, and Macarons by Gadziala. This is a girl going back to her hometown after a really bad breakup, and there's a new guy in town. He's actually been there for a few years, but she hasn't been back, and he owns the coffee shop, and she is a baker, and her mom has like the bakery that is with his coffee shop, and her mom is also his landlord, so they live like right next door to each other. And it's a very nice outfit. It's 2 people who kind of left the city and figured out that they wanted something more in life than what they had. And also it's a couple who fights external conflict together, which is my favorite thing to read in romance, period. I don't like when the angst is between them and when they don't know if they're going to work it out and they're running away at every little problem, because that's not the way a real happily ever after relationship is going to work. You don't go from not speaking to each other for a month because you had one miscommunication to suddenly being healthy communicators and working everything out. But this one, they do work together, and I loved it. Lastly, I'm Dishing Up Love by Robichaux. This one is a chef, has a reality show, and he finds a contestant in the supermarket and then takes them home and teaches them how to cook a meal, and that's kind of the whole show. He sees her, he picks her, he falls head over heels in love with her. A lot of this book takes place over the course of one day in New Orleans, but then as part of the book is a continuation of that, but you have a good chunk of the book just going over one day where they really fall for each other. My issue with this book, though, was that she had an infertility issue and she had surgery to get it fixed, but he had an infertility issue and she had unprotected sex twice and got pregnant twice. And that, to me, is not an accurate portrayal of an infertility issue. Now, her first one, I do believe, ended in miscarriage, and the second one was a surprise baby. But the second one was after she had surgery to correct the problem. But at the same time, 2 unprotected sex, 2 pregnancies didn't jive well with me with the infertility issue. So if that is a trigger for you in any way, all those things are in this book. But the foodie part and the romance part was great. Do you like foodie romances? Do you have any recommendations for me? Even though I probably won't read them, but I might. You never know. You just never know. I do like savory food more than sweets. It's not important. I just felt like telling you that. All right, this has been good. I'm glad we had this talk. That's the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.